Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're talking about Lethal Zone.
Yeah, we are. Big time.
Now, Aaron, it's well known that you used to ply your trade as a security guard back in the day, a
You got
night
that right.
watchman.
Hmm.
Did you ever accost the people that sort of penetrated into your area? Did you ever just sneak up behind them and said, "You're in the lethal zone, pal"?
That would have been a good line. But
Yeah.
my backup line would be like, "Please don't hurt me." No, it's funny in all the I don't know, year and a half that I spent providing security. I never actually confronted a single soul.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. Well, I guess I technically did. I may have told this story before, but so I had two gigs. My buddy, when the job thing fizzled, I was like, what do? I had a guy. It always helps to know a guy. He's like,
Hmm.
listen, I get you this gig, and so the first gig was at this place that built a bunch of townhouses, but like they ran out of cash, and so the townhouses were mostly done, but there was no road going into them, and the townhouses weren't fully completed, but they were completed enough to where people were going in there and living in them or stealing
Mm.
crap like ceiling fans and doors and
Hmm.
stuff. So they said they go, okay. So I never done security before. So I thought to myself, how can I look like intimidating figure even more than I already do? And so I had this long black trench coat. I mean, it was the full length special, right? And then I had that thing on, and I had the old English cap, because
Yeah,
that's nothing makes you look tough than like an English street tough,
that's
that
right.
stick. And then I had a big a big stick. You got to
Hmm.
carry the big
A
stick.
shillelagh.
And back in them days, I'd be smoking these big stogies, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought to myself, what's the easiest way for me not to be killed doing this? And I was like, I got it. I'll be a loud, obnoxious jerk that people could hear coming from a mile away. So I'd have 10 flashlights. I'd be smoking, singing. I'd be having a good old time. And I never came across a single sucker during that job. So that was a pretty easy
What
gig.
was that? Was that an hourly position or were you on a salary at that
That was
job?
hourly.
Okay.
Salary. Are you kidding me? This is low level work boat. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then so that kind of they got the money to get those things back underway. So we were out of a job there. So then it was time to go to. I know I've told you about this place, but they an old folks home, a nursing home, went belly up. But
This
actually,
is where you and Chud installed the computers.
no, the Chud not related to this. The old this is an old what do they call these nursing home?
Yeah.
And the government shut them down for why do you shut a nursing home down? Because they were doing bad stuff, doing a bad job. But
Right.
anyway, they shut this place down with all the crap still in there. Well, suckers kept breaking in, you
Hmm.
know. And so the day I started there, at this place I had to wear a uniform, which I
Oh,
hated. I
yeah.
looked like the big boss man. You know what I'm saying? That's what I felt like, except not nearly as intimidating or cool or good at wrestling. And so the very first day I went there, it was right beside these like low income apartments,
Yeah. HUD housing.
And so I thought to myself, hey, I wonder if any of these geeks are the ones doing the breaking in. That was
Hmm.
my theory. So when I got there, some of them were in the parking lot. I was like, hey, do you guys live over there? They're like, yeah. I said, listen, I'm just telling you ahead of time so you can pass the word around. But some people broke in here. I was like, this is a government ran area, and like they're not tolerating that. And there was a big sign on the front that said like shut down by the F whatever. So
Hmm.
it looked like government. I was like, and this place had like a bell tower, and I told them that there was facial recognition software on a camera running in the bell tower. I was like,
Oh,
don't come. Tell your friends. It's like it's night vision. It'll
yeah.
catch you. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't personally care, but I'm just telling you. I was like, don't even cut across the parking lot. That's the last time I ever saw anyone come across the parking lot or no one ever tried to get
See,
in.
you were a valuable asset they let go unwisely.
Well, I don't remember how I lost that job. I think it just went away. I don't think they fired me. I think
Yeah.
it's but yeah. So those are my walks into the lethal zone. The way I look at it, try to make the lethal zone as unlethal as you can. I mean, you've been in the lethal zone a few times. What did you do?
Uh, you know, I think the scariest place I've ever been hanging around is I went to go see Depeche Mode in Detroit.
Oh yeah.
Me and my buddy drove up there, and we the theater was in downtown Detroit, and this is like Detroit's kind of turned around a little bit here within the past, I don't know,
Well,
15
everybody
years or
left.
so,
That's how it turned
right?
around.
But I mean, like, there's the population of Detroit actually grew from last year to this year. So,
Yeah.
but this was in full like decay mode, and so that was creepy. Uh, Also, I when I was I got lost in Baltimore one time,
Ooh, no,
and
no,
yeah, this
man.
was when I first moved up to the DC area. And then I was driving my old minivan. I hit a pothole. The window fell out of the van because it was one of those old minivan windows that come out like this. So then I stopped by this CVS in the middle of the hood, and I'm like, man, what am I gonna? I'm taping up the window with duct tape, and I'm like, well, I'm in the right neighborhood to be doing this. And so, but I've never had any. Luckily, I've never been mugged or anything like that. I've never been accosted. So even though I've been in scary places, it's all been okay.
Do you remember where you were seeing Depeche Mode? Do you remember? It wasn't at the Cobo Arena, was it? Was that place
No,
still around?
no, this was actually just Dave Gahan. So it was one of the three
Oh,
guys in Depeche Mode,
how was
and
it?
it was okay. I mean, he sang all the songs. I got tired of standing. I just went in the back and sat down against the wall. Uh,
So really, it
somebody,
really fired you up. You did. You rushed away from the stage.
I don't even know why I
That's not
went.
good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Depeche Mode fan. I think I just wanted to do something.
How far did you drive to go to this?
This was like, I mean, it was from Hurricane to Detroit, so
You
it's like 9-10
Of
hours.
all the things you could have done, of all the bands that have came through, the
It's a
guy
weird,
from
yeah,
Depeche Mode in Detroit.
yeah. It's hard for me. This was when I just broken up with my fiance, and I was going through
Mm,
some pretty significant mental disorder.
yeah.
And I just, I made a snap. My buddy was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go," and it was like in 2 days. He was like, "I'm gonna go in 2 days. You want to go?" I was like, "All right." And I just, looking back on it, it was a strange time in my life. But yeah, I still remember going back to where the guy was running the sound in the back of the club. It was basically like a little club, and I
Yeah.
was just like, there was like a step up to get to the soundboard, like the little station. I just sat on that step, and I was just like, "Man, this is I hate this." And
Well,
and so,
the thing is, Boat, a man such as yourself, if you're going to go into the lethal zone, you've got all those sword skills. So I
yeah,
would assume you would take the sword
I am
into the
ready.
lethal
Now, I
zone.
am ready with my EI training. I am ready for pretty much any lethal encounter, as long as nobody has anything more deadly than a sword on them.
Well,
Sword on sword combat, I'm unstoppable.
we could have used your sword in this lethal zone. Let's get into it. I like bad mouthing the music when no one else can hear me. So that's what we're. If you ever wonder what we do while that's going on, we talk about how dumb things are. Because that sounds like somebody dropped a cat on the synthesizer. It's what that sounds like. But that song gets okay. Boat, it's time for the Lethal Zone.
Yeah, lethal zone.
You ever played this one, Boater?
Nope.
Me either. The name is good. I mean, this sounds like something I would have picked on like one of the disaster streets, just solely based on the name. It's like, oh,
Right.
Lethal Zone. That sounds pretty good, but I don't remember this one. So this, of course, in case you're wondering, this is Public Domania Week, and we have been fed the Lethal Zone from 1991. This was published, quote unquote, by Amiga Fun magazine. This is in issue 10, 1991. I looked into Amiga Fun because I was like, Amiga Fun? I don't remember hearing much about that magazine. Well, there's a reason. It wasn't around that long. It was only around for like a little over a year. And it wasn't a magazine. It was more like a booklet or a brochure or something like that. It wasn't very thick. And apparently they made like Commodore Fun and some other funds, like ZX
Mm-hmm.
funds. So there were some of these out. But anyway, this was the cover disc. And it was developed by a crew called the Infernal Byte Systems. Pretty good name.
Oh, yeah.
The stuff that the Infernal Byte System did it's not what I would call top tier. They did a game called Demo's Quest. I mean, it might be great. They did a game called Demo's Quest, Gain Forced, Marvin's Marvel, Master Blaster, and Nebulous 2. Nebulous 2.
Okay. Nebulous 2 is that's the tower moving or
Well,
like rotating game,
is
right?
that's Nebulous 1? I don't know, but I don't think we ever played Did we play Nebulous 2?
I don't think we've done the second one. Maybe it's a different game. Just the
I don't
same
know.
Nebulous. I mean, it's sort of a Nebulous title.
Yeah. The designer of this was a guy named Tobias Prinz. The manager was Walter Conrad. This guy was involved in some games. Here's a personal favorite of mine, and my son got a big kick out of this. I was writing it up. There's a game called Doofus, which I think we should try playing at some point. Ketchum, Helicopter Mission, and Mysterious Worlds. This was coded by Andreas Lautensack. He did a game called the Sony Game, and the music in this was by Frank Lautensack. Maybe it's his brother who did the audio for Demo's Quest. This is an OCS ECS joint, 1 disc, and again, this was a cover disc. So here's the dirty little secret of this game that I found out this week, and we'll get to this a little bit more later. But this was a port of a C64 game of the same name, Lethal Zone, which was programmed and designed by Michael Baer with graphics by Thomas Heinrich. And Boat actually gave that thing a whirl this week, so we'll get into that a little bit later. When this comes up, it comes up with sort of a happy Amiga fun thing, and then you've got the evil music kicks in for the Lethal Zone. From what I've been able to, there wasn't a whole lot on this, but when I could dig up, this was made by Germans in Germany. I looked at the instruction manual for this, and there's like a tiny little blurb that I guess was in the magazine that tells you the instructions in English. But then the German side of it, there's a whole lot of more instructions, but I couldn't figure out what they were saying in it. So the American English version is not so good. It says fly through 4 levels and shoot stuff. That's effectively what it says. When this thing honed into view, Boat, what were your first thoughts?
I started out thinking, all right, this is going to be fun. I like a good R-type shooter. And this PD game, so you're not expecting like a fully rendered introductory sequence. You get something that looks very reminiscent of the demos scene. You have a still picture of your ship, which looks good. And then you go right into the greets section where you have scrolling text and you have all the credits and everything like that. And then you're right into the game. So that's my first impressions were okay.
Yeah, it's got a nice look to it. You could tell these guys knew what they were doing. Like, they knew how to put a game together. And so then you're whisked off to the Lethal Zone. Now, you may be asking yourself, Amigo Air in the Boat, why is this called the Lethal Zone? Well, it's a good question. Here's the answer. It's the hardest thing ever. That's why. It should another name could be Insta Death. This is a shmup. It's a horizontal shmup that puts you in a ship, and it's. I mean, they didn't reinvent the wheel here, Boat. This is sort of a R-type sort of affair where there's a ceiling and a roof, and there's stuff in between, and then monsters and spaceships come out. Sometimes in formation, sometimes just random, it seems. And they come out and they fly towards you. They shoot at you, and you try to shoot them back. And you can occasionally a power up will float up, and you can pick that up, and it will add to your beams. Now, that's the crux of the game here, the beam system. You want to try to dig into that as best you understand it, Boat?
Well, you hold your button and your ship charges up, and then you can unleash a powered up shot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, you can also pick up like double shots. There's a few power ups, but the beam system is the main draw of this thing. It's funny when you any of these games that have the old hold the button routine, you have to. The problem with that always is you've got to find a place to make sure you're not going to get killed by not shooting for the time it takes to fire up the beam, right? This game's no exception. Clever games are built with this in mind. They will built in areas just to give you enough time to use that shot, and some games will require you to use it in some areas. Um, this game sort of does that, I guess, would be the best way to put it. I don't know about you, but I mean, how often were you able to successfully deploy that beam without getting brutally killed?
Well, I mean, you can do it several times. You just can never really do it when you want to.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
when when the screen is free of enemies, then you can charge your shield or you can charge your beam and you can let it fly, and you can be like, yeah, I did it. You can, you know, in the very earliest volleys of enemies that come through, you know, you can knock out, you know, maybe 3 of the 5 that come in formation. But what I noticed was that it was not as effective as actually shooting the enemies independently. You know, I was not able to destroy the waves of enemies as well with the beam as I was with just my normal shot. I imagine the beam weapon comes most in handy when you're fighting one of the bosses.
Yeah, yeah, which I never got to a boss, even with the cheats. So my version of this, which I played the WHD load, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I tried to play. I was like, you know what? Because Brent always mocks me on the other shows when I have to resort to the low levels of cheating. And I thought, you know, I'm not gonna give that guy the satisfaction. I'm gonna play this thing straight up, brother. And I did. And I memorized the first, I don't know, 7 enemies. Oh, as I got killed there over and over. It reminded me of when I was playing Space Ace on that stream. It's just like
Hmm.
death, 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 death. This is a game where I'm pretty sure that reflexes aren't good enough. I think you pretty much have to memorize where everything's coming from all the time. Added bonus, they come from behind as well sometimes. The way they move, there's so many obstacles in this game from the top and the bottom of the screen. So not only do you have to dodge them, but when the bad guys come rushing in, they've only got so many places they can go, and so they clog up any place you can go. And they also come in these crazy patterns as they avoid all these various shapes. I found this confounding, Bo. How did you fare?
This is another one where you wonder why, what type of person is this made for? You know, because this is essentially, I think you're dead on. This is a game in which you are tasked with how well can you memorize. This is not a game of skill. It's not a game of dexterity. It's a game of how well can you literally memorize everything that happens in a stage. Because the way that these enemies are set up, this is a one-hit kill game, and it is not a jump back in where you die game. There are
Yes,
checkpoints, but the checkpoints are not they're
friendly.
not they're not frequent. And
Yes.
so this is it's just a very frustrating experience that's compounded by you're contending with the environment at all times. You're contending with gates that open and close. The worst thing for me is that, you know, in a horizontal shooter, you are part of the way that you can get better is you can at certain points you want to hang back because you've got the full width of the screen to try and deal with these enemies that are flying at you. Well, no, not in this game, because in this game you've got enemies, like you said, coming from the rear, and they come on you and then it's over before you can even blink.
You
um
never want that. I agree. You
no.
never want them coming from the rear. And these guys come in helter skelter too, and unannounced. They just show
Right.
up.
Right. What would have been better? Well, there's a whole multi-volume piece of literature that could be written called "What They Could Have Done to Make This Game Better." But just to deal with that specific issue of the enemies coming from behind, I don't have an issue with that. What the game needs to do is have some sort of early warning system, like maybe flash some symbol up on the screen, being like, "Hey, incoming, incoming," you know, just so you can get ready. Because again, if you don't have that, you're just you resort to having to memorize the location of every enemy. And to me, that's not why you play a shooter. You know, you play a shooter to kind of test your mettle at how good you are at dealing with the environment and dealing with the enemies as they come towards you. But there needs to be an element of fairness in these games, and the fairness can be mitigated either with having multiple, spawning from where you die, having an energy gauge. This would be a perfect game to have energy gauge.
Yeah,
It's not a
yeah.
big deal if you get hit from behind, as long as it just kind of cuts down some of your life and you just move on. Um, I got so frustrated just trying to make any progress at all. And I was just like you, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to cheat, I might as well watch a Let's Play. And you can tell this is another one of these classic Amiga games where the only Let's Plays that are on YouTube are the ones where they're cheating up the hiney. And so to me, when that's the only people that can beat your game have to resort to cheating, you've not made a good game.
I'm gonna be the good cop for a second because yeah, I agree with everything you said. By the way, but this is basically a giveaway game on a magazine cover. Now, we've looked at some people would be like, it's just public domain. We've played some outstanding public domain games over the years. We've been very fortunate because the committee knows their stuff. And this game is not garbage by any stretch of the imagination. It looks like a commercial release in every sense of the word. It sounds like one. It looks like one. It's got multiplanar scrolling. It's got interesting enemies that fly at you, enemies that look different, enemies that fly in formation. It's even got some ground-based enemies that try to shoot rifles or what at you. It's got 4 bosses, and it's got sort of some like sub-bosses, like the terrain and stuff of that you're flying in. It's interesting. It's very challenging. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, it's got a lot going for it. But I think the biggest flaw this game makes is, and you nailed it, is the fact that this game doesn't have some sort of like ability to get energy. Like one hit kills in a game like this, it's frustrating. It's got go away heat with me. It's the kind of game that I would get. It's happened to me several times where I just turned this sucker off. I was like, time to walk away. I was annoyed because it's brutally hard to the point where it feels unfair. Or the guys are just being jerks, just trying to screw with people. It's a shame because I think this game's got a lot to offer for shmup fans, but I doubt any of them will get that far. Now, I did have the ability to skip through levels, so I did get to try all the different levels. But even with continual beams and stuff, I still couldn't get very far because none of the cheats gave me unlimited the ability not to get hurt. And this game still, you get, so that even made it more frustrating. I even cheated and I couldn't win.
Yeah, I mean there is an invincibility code because Zeus Daz is using it as he plays through the playthrough on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's just not on the one that we were playing with.
Yeah, we need that. It's a shame because I mean I think you'd agree with me on this, but I mean there's some nice elements in this, aren't there?
This game, this is another example. It's another. I mean, I feel like sometimes I just feel like we say the same stuff every single week. The graphics are beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
The backgrounds are great. The enemies are great. This is definitely not a bitmap garbage. Blood money type.
Berry stuff.
It's just this is enemies are quality. Your ship looks great. The sound is okay. The music is okay. You see credits for coder. You see credits for graphics. There's no separate level design person. And what you need with a game like this is you need somebody that really understands a sloping difficulty curve and how to design a level that is not frustrating to the beginning player. And you don't get that. Now, Europe has a grand tradition of rock hard shoot 'em ups, and this is just another one in there. Like I said, I think people were going into it knowing this is what they're going to get. I'm going to get into this thing and I'm going to memorize every single aspect of this game so I can get through it. It's a different mindset than when you play a Japanese shooter. It's just a different mindset to be in. And I'm not saying that those people are wrong. It's just not the kind of game that I like to play where everything is just this extended game of Simon, where it's like, have I managed to memorize all of the different steps before the checkpoint?
Yeah. One of the things that bothered me about this game, and you nailed one right there, the level design, because this thing feels claustrophobic as heck, and I don't like that. I mean, especially right out of the gate. Can we get a minute to figure out what's going on? Do you have to give us the business? I mean, because this game right out of the gate, it's relentless. It's all on top of you. give us a few minutes to figure out what we're doing. But I don't like games that are that claustrophobic where they've got too much. There are too many. There are too few places to go, and it's hard, makes it even harder than it should be. The second thing it needs, obviously, like we mentioned, you need to have a hit counter, and I'm thinking about something like Parsec or something, or any of the many games that have shielding and the ability to get more shielding. They've
Right.
got so much ground clutter. Why can't they have something out there that just kind of run your ship through? What was that game we played on the Atari boat that we liked so
Laser
much?
gates. Laser
Laser
gates.
gates,
Mhm.
where you could go through the little and it would charge you back up. That was brilliant. Why
Yeah.
could we not do that? That game's been out forever. So there's that. Now I know this was based on another game, and it
Mhm.
was the C64 game, and I was pleased that you told me you'd played it. So, because maybe I'm burying this game, even though it was based on a game that did the same thing. So, how did this play on the C64 boat?
Well, I got exactly as far in the C64 version as I did on the Amiga version. So I think these guys they set out to replicate the C64 game and they succeeded. Unfortunately, they brought all of the poor design choices from that version into the Amiga. The Amiga version does look a lot better. I mean, the Amiga version looks like a 16-bit game. The audio is vastly superior on the C64 version. The SID
Of
chip
course,
is doing the work on that.
it's the
Paula
man.
just kind of limps along like it always does on the
I mean, the
Amiga.
Sid. That's not even a
Um,
fair comparison.
yeah,
That thing
yeah.
is unparalleled.
Yeah. So, but so again, it all comes down to how you want to view this game. If you're viewing it from the standpoint of these guys set out to take an existing C64 game and make a facelifted version for the Amiga, they succeeded. If they set out to make a great shoot 'em up, I think that they failed.
Now, let me ask you a couple things about the C64 version, Bo, if I may. I've noticed that it's got a gas gauge on it. That's what that is, right? It's a gas gauge.
I was
Uh,
dying all the time. It's still a
yeah.
one-hit kill game.
And do the beams work the same way?
Yep, same
Yeah.
thing. You still hold the charge and all that stuff.
Did you
Uh,
have a preference amongst the two?
Yeah, I'd rather play the 64 one because you hear the same music all the time when you're playing. At least you get a better tune in the C64.
Yeah, that's it's funny you should say that, but I mean I will say this looked pretty good on the C64. Of course, it's got the usual 2/3 of the screen is game and 1/3 is the oversized control panel, but I guess
Right.
that's what you're going to get these days. Again, this is a not a long game. It's only 4 levels. You've got 4 bosses. The bosses actually look easier than everything else in the game. I wouldn't know. I never got to fight one. But the bosses don't look that tough compared
They
to just
they
getting
seem
to
to
the
follow
boss.
the same pattern. The bosses don't really shoot like volleys of weapons. They basically just try and ram you. They back
Yeah,
up, they rush you forward. It's hard to tell because again, we're watching a playthrough with invincibility turned on. So it's really hard to gauge the difficulty of the bosses.
yeah. Um, there's not a ton you can say about this game. It's a good looking game. I think it could have been better. Again, you get what you get. If you grade this on the curve of the fact that it was a giveaway, I think as a giveaway. I think it's a fine game for people that are up to this challenge. I wonder sometimes, Boat, because we play so many of these games like this that are so hard that we can't do any good at them. Do we just suck, or have people just gotten crappier at these sorts of games?
No, no,
Or
I
or
think
were people bored and this is all they had, so they became experts at them? What do you think it is?
it's all in the mindset. It's exactly like all those games you like, all those Laserdisc games where they're not really games. It's how well can you memorize this thing from beginning to end, and how much time do you want to spend memorizing what to do at every single action point.
Mm,
And for some people, they love that. That they dig it. For me, I'd rather sort of get by on a test of reflex and dexterity, especially in a game like this. So for people of that certain mindset, and these are all the people, anybody that played Lethal Zone for more than 30 seconds back in the day is going to have that mindset, because otherwise they just move on to a different game. This was a
yeah,
free game. If it sucks, you just take it out, you put it away. So
yeah.
everybody, if you read a review on Lemon and they praise this thing, they've got that mindset, that memorization mindset.
Well, let's get to that. I did look these up, of course, on the various sources. There's not a lot of action on this one. The people at Lemon give this a 6.04. Lore did not have a score for this one. The Hall of Light. ASM gave this a 67%. To me, both those seem like pretty fair assessments. I don't think this game's a disaster. I just think it's too hard. Did we get any action on the Discord? Did anybody give this a whirl this week?
We did. First up, we have this is from BFB He says, for a true budget title, Lethal Zone is impressive, with intro music as well as unique tunes for each level, sound effects, smooth scrolling, tight control, a variety of enemies, and decent graphics. You really can't rate it too low. The budget elements show up by way of nearly impossible gameplay, a mere 4 levels, half-baked bosses, no way to build shields to prevent one-hit deaths, no way to carry and utilize multiple weapon upgrades, and an ending that means new meaning to non-existent. But the high score table is a nice touch, a bit of bonus fun if you know a few folks who are up for a challenge. Hard to grade this one on a proper curve if you consider it might have cost someone between $3 and $13 depending on the region of sale. 7.3 out of 10. Graham W. Ebke writes, there is nothing lethal about this snooze fest shooter, which is as dull as the overrated Project X. If you are prepared to stop watching your grass grow, you can learn the enemy patterns after a couple of attempts as they don't change. Now play with auto fire enabled, just complete the game to say you beat it, not that that is an achievement. Thankfully, it's only 4 levels long, so you can complete it quickly enough. The audio is the best aspect of the game, as the level design is basically the same for all 4 levels. An overly generous 3 out of 10.
Man.
And finally, Pajako writes, if there is a shoot-'em-up equivalent of the Euro platformer, Lethal Zone is it. Graphics and audio are pretty good, but the game design challenge is off the freaking charts from the moment you start. Challenge is good, but Lethal Zone is ultra cheap most of the time. The first phallic-looking boss instantly re-gored me to death before I figured out what was going on. So I stuck on infinite lives and ground through the 4 levels so I don't have to go back. With enemies that attack from behind, unkillable baddies, guess the right path, a big hitbox, and a ship that jerks around with every movement, this game is tough, but it's technically free. It scores a pass. Masochist gamers might enjoy this, but I prefer something a little less brutal, like holding a soldering iron at the hot end. 5 out of 10.
You know, I can't help but notice that you're having a very unhealthy effect on these people. They're killing stuff like you killing. Graham's killing Project X. I can't believe it. My God. Hey, look at the bright side. You don't have to go buy this on eBay. You can go download this wherever you want and give it a whirl. I will say, in closing, I did try to find the copy of the magazine this was in, and I could not find it. So if anybody has access to the English version, I'd love to see it. I did find other versions of this magazine. It looked okay, so it might be kind of fun if you're into old weird magazines to give Amiga Fun a try. However, I think Amiga Fun is an incorrect and inaccurate term in this case.
Welcome to Retro Rewind. I'm your host, British Jones. Whether you're into the Amiga, Commodore 64, or Tiger floral print speed suits, Retro Rewind has all you need from the friendly hosers of the Great White North. Looking to upgrade your Amiga? Check out the Amiga OS 3.2.2 Kickstart ROM for just $18. Or maybe you need a C64 or C128 diagnostic harness. Grab one while they're hot. Don't miss our best sellers like the 1541 Transit Card for just $1, or the incredible Amiga Coin Cell Battery Adapter. Shop now at Retro Rewind Limited and bring your classic computers back to life. Retro Rewind Limited. Frank's the man.
Amiga News.
All right, Aaron, we got a couple news stories this week. The first one is a A500 gamepad, a mini A500 gamepad that has been redesigned for real Amigas. Aaron, tell us about this.
I watch this guy's stuff sometimes, and so this is pretty clever. So he took the A500 Mini, the gamepad that came with. Of course, it's a USB gamepad, and what he's done is he's went out and designed his own circuit board to stick in it to change it from a USB gamepad to something he can plug in an actual Amiga. This will give him the ability to plug in to the joystick port on his Amiga and try it out. And he designed this whole thing. He goes in, he shows you how he did it, and you got to give the guy credit. It worked out of the gate too. I mean, and it fit perfectly. if this is now, he also talks about his love of the CD32's controller, the much maligned CD32, which I also think is underrated. I really think it's a pretty good. It's not as good as the A500 Mini controller, but it's pretty good. You
Mhm.
know, and so, but if you're going to convert something, it's not the worst choice. He also gets it to where all the buttons work, which is nice. So you've got the only buttons he combines are the start and the select buttons. He combines into one button, but everything else works. So if that's your cup of tea, this would be a good thing to check out. Now, of course, this guy designed his own PCB. I don't know if he's going to be releasing this design to everybody. He may not. I believe he said he might sell. I think he said he might sell one of these or something. I don't know exactly what he's got cooking. But yeah, you can look at that video for more details. What do you think about the idea of converting the USB gamepad back over to the old Atari format joystick?
I think it's fantastic because nobody can get on to you for like taking, for example, if you were doing this to a CD32 controller, if you're altering it in some way, you're sort of wrecking it. And
Yeah.
there's not a ton of CD32 controllers out there versus A500 minis. I mean, they made a zillion of these things. There's
Yeah.
tons of controllers banging around. I think this is a great way to bring that kind of control style into your real Amiga. I wholeheartedly approve of this project. CRG is the guy
Yeah.
that we should note that this is the YouTube channel that this appears on. I think this is a great idea, and I think that he should sell these boards. I think they do really well.
I've spent more than a few hours converting joysticks back and forth, mostly to arcade control panels. But I've done it, I've done other stuff. Like one time I decided it'd be cool to hook the Dreamcast up to the arcade machine, so I rigged up the Dreamcast controllers to work with the arcade machine, stuff like that. There are probably simpler ways to do this project. Don't involve actually taking it apart. You could probably I'm almost certain you could get something to convert that joystick to a USB joystick if you wanted to. But and I think he even mentions this. This is just hey, listen, everybody's got their gimmick, I don't know. And so if that's your cup of tea, I would check this out. He's got a good rig here to test it, which I've never seen this thing he's using before to test the buttons. And hey, like I said, it works. It's a good idea. And the good thing is, you don't have to even buy the A500 Mini. You can get these Retro Games Limited sell those game pads just straight up off their webpage. You can just buy, and I think they've got a black one and a kind of that beige one, so you could get the color you like and go in there and go to work. With this sort of hook, I mean, really the Amiga, when it comes to hooking up joysticks, the one good thing about having that Atari port, it gives you there's a lot of crazy gizmos to convert stuff back and forth to that.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, if you don't feel like jumping on this project yourself, you can almost certainly find an adapter to take care of your business. But this is still a nice little project.
Our other news story this week, Aaron, also comes to us from the world of YouTube. This is from Hack Build Restore, his YouTube channel, and it's called Building a New Amiga in 2025. What's up with this, Aaron?
So this is one of those videos that I was ready to when I first saw it pop up, I'm like, what is this crap? Because what he's done is he's got a redesigned board here that he's going to place Amiga parts into. Okay, and you're always like, why would they do that? Well, he had a machine where the battery had done so much damage to the traces that it was you could not be saved. And this happens, and it's going to happen more and more as the years go on.
Right.
And so with this board, what they've done is they've consolidated everything to make it to where it's like, I think it's like a mini ATX or something like that. It'll fit its own little case. And it also adds some additional benefits. I believe it adds some Zorro slots to it, and which is, of course, you wouldn't have had those on that. So you're expanding the what you could do with it. I believe it also adds like a PS2 port to it, one or two of those. And so the video is effectively this fellow, presumably who had taken this stuff out of his machine, is just putting it in this machine and soldering it in. I think he mentioned it took him a couple days to get it done. The hardest part would be taking out the old parts. That would be a huge hassle because when he puts the parts back in this, for the most part, he uses sockets Now he does mention that there were a few chips they recommend not socketing for timing purposes, which is, if you think about that, it's weird, but that shows you the timing. But just having that socket in there can affect the timing somewhat. He's very meticulous in the way he does stuff. When it comes to putting this stuff down, I would have, I'm a ham and egger. I'd go through but this guy does it right. And when he gets done, everything looks good. And by the way, everything works. It's difference between being sketchy and not being sketchy. But it looks like the board is a pretty nice little board. These are the sorts of things you're going to want to have handy in case you have a catastrophic failure. Because now we're getting down to the point where the Amigas are more than the sum of their parts. Effectively, you've got to sort of recycle everything on the board, even if the board is trashed, because those things are becoming so rare. Yeah. And we both know they're going to get rarer as the days wear on. But eventually, he hooks this up. He runs all the diagnostics on it, and it all works great. So it was a very interesting video, and it's a nice project if you are in need. I'm not sure I'd want to rip apart I don't think I'd want to rip apart a working Amiga to do this, you know what I mean? But, if you've got a dud, not the worst idea. So I enjoyed it. Real good video.
I think that's very cool. All right, Aaron, that's going to do it for this week's news. What do we have coming up on the show next week?
Let's find out, Boater.
Skids.
We're hitting the skids, Boat. I think
that
we
is
did that years ago.
That is a very 80s looking cover. You got the BMX bike on there, the skateboarder. So I'm sure this is going to be a fun adventure back through time.
I can't wait. This actually looks like something that me and you used to love that. What was that, surf and turf goofy game?
Yeah, TNC surf designs. Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
to be like that. That'll be fun.
I hope so. I love that game. Well, guys, thank you as always for listening. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/Amigos podcast. And we will see you next week. Until then, adios.
Adios.
Amigos is made possible by contributions from listeners like you. Patreon supporters help choose the games we play, receive exclusive magnets, and get access to the Amigos Retro Gaming Discord server. Visit patreon.com/Amigos podcast if you'd like to support the show and join our community.